Stop repairing others. Begin the reconstruction of yourself. This singular shift in focus will change the trajectory of your existence, but only if you have the stomach for the brutal truth. Listen closely, you have been manipulated. Every single time you attempted to salvage someone else's life, you were effectively hemorrhaging your own power. You handed them the master keys to your internal fortress while your own walls were falling into ruin, and they accepted that sacrifice without a second thought. Niccolò Machiavelli understood a reality that most men are too weak to face. The world does not reward the martyr, it consumes them. You believe you are being noble by trying to reform a broken partner, trying to stabilize a chaotic friend, or trying to rescue a brother from his own shadows. You are not being noble, you are being reckless. You are bleeding out your most precious resources, your time, your energy, and your focus on individuals who did not ask for your intervention and do not desire your salvation. Meanwhile, your own empire, your physical vessel, and your higher purpose sit abandoned, rotting in the silence of your neglect. Here is the cold, calculated truth. People do not transform because you wish it for them. They transform only when the agony of remaining the same becomes a fire they can no longer endure. That fire is not yours to ignite, and their burden is not your cross to carry. Your primary mission is absolute dominance over the only thing you truly own, yourself. The moment you resign as everyone's hero, you become a threat to the status quo. You become dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to your own weaknesses, and dangerous to the version of you that accepted a life of service over a life of sovereignty. What is your most profound vulnerability? It isn't a lack of discipline, and it isn't the fear of failing. It is your addiction to being the solution. You have mistakenly traded your value for your utility, and that error is slowly draining your potential. Every time a person brings you a crisis they have no intention of solving, you feel a surge of dopamine. In that moment, you feel significant, you feel essential, you feel like you finally belong. But understand the dark psychology at play. Needy people are energy parasites. They aren't looking for a way out, they are looking for a witness to their suffering. They want a host to carry the heavy weight they are too lazy to lift for themselves. And you are the ideal host, because you believe that saving them validates your existence as a man. Machiavelli observed that princes who rely on the fluctuating favor of others are destined for ruin. The law of power remains unchanged. When your worth is tethered to someone else's incompetence, you are not a leader, you are a servant in a gilded cage. People will extract exactly as much as you allow them to take. They will siphon your spirit and then demand more. Not out of malice, but because you taught them that your time has no price and your energy has no limit. Cease acting as the emotional welfare office for people who wouldn't step over a puddle to assist you. The second you redirect that rescue energy back toward your own growth, you evolve into a different species of man. Your time becomes a sacred asset, your attention becomes an expensive luxury, and your presence becomes something that is earned, never given. You are not being cold, you are being professional, you are not being selfish, you are being sovereign. Let me reveal the single psychological weapon that separates the apex predator from the common prey: strategic indifference. This is not the same as apathy, and it is certainly not a mask for cruelty. It is the calculated detachment from any person, event, or emotion that does not actively fuel your ascent to power. Niccolò Machiavelli did not waste his limited breath attempting to moralize with corrupt officials. He analyzed them, he utilized them, or he systematically erased their influence from his sphere of operation. He understood that some battles are beneath a prince, and some people are simply not worth the investment of a savior. This is the exact point where most men fail with absolute consistency. They labor under the delusion that they must care about everything, respond to every stimulus, and fix every fracture that appears in their social circle. That is not a sign of strength. It is a profound weakness disguised as a virtue. Real power is the ability to walk past a burning house without feeling the need to grab a bucket, provided that house does not belong to your kingdom. You must learn the cold art of ignoring the trivial. Your colleague's office drama, ignore it, your friend's cyclical relationship failures that they refuse to address. Ignore it. The family member who attempts to guilt-trip you because your ambition makes their stagnation look like a choice. Ignore it. You do this not because you lack a heart, but because you possess a vision that requires every ounce of your available focus. Most people's problems are self-engineered and self-perpetuated. They find a perverse comfort in their own chaos because it provides them with an identity and a ready-made excuse for why they haven't achieved greatness. When you attempt to pull them out of their self-made trenches, they will not thank you, they will resent you. By offering them a solution, you are threatening their victim narrative, the very thing that keeps them safe from the responsibility of growth. Machiavelli understood that a leader's job is not to be a lifeguard for those who enjoy drowning. Your job is to build yourself into a monolith so undeniable and so formidable that your mere existence serves as a lighthouse for those who are actually ready to swim. Scarcity is the mother of value. When your time, your counsel, and your emotional labor are available to anyone who asks, you become a common commodity. You become replaceable. You become a tool to be used and discarded. But when you guard your inner fortress with the ferocity of a dragon guarding gold, the dynamic shifts. People stop expecting your help and start hoping for your attention. This is the value gap. By withdrawing your energy from the bankrupt souls around you, you create a surplus within yourself. You stop leaking power through 1,000 tiny holes of unearned generosity. Ask yourself, if your energy is a currency, why are you spending it on people whose accounts have been in the red for years? Why are you investing in a sinking ship while your own fleet remains unbuilt? Selective indifference is the ultimate filter. It filters out the leeches, the complainers, and the aimless. It leaves you with only two things, your purpose and the very few individuals who are moving at your speed. This is the high cost of the sovereign life. You must be willing to let people fail. You must be willing to let them suffer the consequences of their own choices without rushing to soften the blow. If you shield a man from the sun, he will never learn to seek the shade. If you shield a man from his own failure, you are effectively stealing his chance to become a man. Stop being the emotional safety net for a world that doesn't respect your sacrifice. Redefine your boundaries with iron. The moment you realize that no is not an insult, but a declaration of your own value, is the moment you stop being a servant. A king does not explain why he is busy, he simply is. A sovereign does not apologize for his focus, he protects it at all costs. Your energy is your kingdom's treasury. Stop handing it out like scrap metal. Stop running from the silence. Stop distracting your spirit with the chaotic wreckage of other people's lives because you are terrified to face the ruins of your own. This is the dark truth that your ego refuses to acknowledge. Your obsession with fixing everyone else is a sophisticated defense mechanism. It is a smokescreen designed to keep you from looking into the mirror. When you are occupied with the drama of a broken friend or the failures of a relative, you are effectively buying yourself a reprieve, pronunciation, reprieve, from your own transformation. As long as someone else is worse off, you can convince yourself that you are doing just fine. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote that men are more readily disposed to believe in the truth of what they wish to be true than in the reality that stands before them. You wish to believe you are the hero, the savior, the good man who cares too much, but beneath that noble mask lies a profound cowardice. It is easier to give a lecture on discipline to a lazy peer than it is to drag your own body to the gym when your muscles scream for rest. It is easier to coach a stranger on their finances than it is to ruthlessly audit your own spending and kill your addictions. It is easier to identify the toxicity in your partner than it is to admit that you are the one who tolerated because you were too afraid to be alone. This is the ultimate self-manipulation, and it feels productive. It feels meaningful. It feels like you are doing God's work, but you aren't building anything. You are hiding in the shadows of other people's problems. In psychology, this is known as projection. Every flaw you fight so hard to fix in others is a shadow of a weakness you are too weak to confront in yourself. The lazy friend you constantly nag, he is a reflection of your own procrastination on your higher purpose. The undisciplined brother you try to manage, he is the mirror of the lack of structure in your private life. The toxic associate you try to reform, They represent the low standard you have. For your own inner circle. The mirror does not lie, but you do. Every single time you point your finger at someone else's mess instead of cleaning your own house. You lie every time you claim you don't have time for your own training or your own business, yet somehow find 3 hours to counsel a person who has no intention of changing. Machiavelli understood that self-deception is the most lethal form of weakness. A prince who cannot see his own defects clearly is a prince who is already being measured for his casket. You cannot rule your own life effectively while you are lying to yourself about where your vital energy should be invested. Take that razor-sharp analytical mind you use to dissect everyone else and turn it inward with a surgeon's coldness. What are you avoiding? What specific pain are you running from by playing the helper? What needs to be burned away in your own kingdom before you have any business offering fire to someone else? Answer these questions in the quiet of your own mind. Stop being the therapist for people who aren't paying you and aren't evolving. The world doesn't need more people who can point out what's wrong. It needs people who have fixed what's broken within themselves. When you stop projecting and start performing, the world around you changes without you saying a word. Your silence becomes more instructional than your lectures ever were. Your results become the only advice you ever need to give. The savior dies today. The architect is born. Stop looking at them. Look at the man in the mirror and don't look away until he admits his faults. The real work is internal. Everything else is just noise. You do not get to build an eternal empire while you are volunteering as a construction worker on someone else's property. Read that again and let it sink into the bedrock of your consciousness. Niccolò Machiavelli spent his life dissecting the anatomy of power, not the fantasy version sold to the masses, but the raw, brutal, and pragmatic reality of how it is gained and how it is held. He discovered a law that weak men find offensive. Power is finite, energy is finite, time is the only currency that can never be recovered once it is spent. Every single hour you spend trying to repair a person who is comfortable in their brokenness is an hour stolen from the construction of your own greatness. You think you are being generous, you think you are being noble, you think you are a good person, but generosity without ironclad boundaries is not a virtue, it is a form of slow-motion suicide. It is the act of burning your own furniture to keep a stranger warm for a night while you freeze in the morning. Here is what the Machiavellian mind understands with clinical clarity. Your life is a kingdom, and every kingdom requires a king who is ruthlessly, unapologetically omitted to its prosperity, its defense, and its expansion, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, always. Right now. Your kingdom is under a state of siege, but the enemy isn't at the gates. The enemy is the neglect of the throne. Look at your territory. Your physical vessel is undertrained, fueled by stimulants and stress instead of the raw discipline of the grind. Your mind is a cluttered mess of other people's opinions, other people's dramas, and other people's failures. It is polluted with digital distractions that serve no purpose other than to keep you sedated and mediocre. Your finances are stagnant because you are too busy offering free consulting to people who don't value your time, instead of building income streams that would make you untouchable. This is the inevitable result of abandoning your post to play savior in the streets. Dark psychology reveals that most people operate from a place of profound scarcity. They believe that if they don't say yes to every demand, they will lose their connection, their approval, or their love. So they say yes to everyone else and no to themselves until there is nothing left but a shell of a man. But you are no longer one of them. After today, you become the architect. You become the king who realizes that a strong, wealthy, and disciplined kingdom benefits the world far more than a weak king who tries to help everyone individually. When you fix yourself first, you become a standard of excellence. People do not need your long-winded advice. They need to see your discipline in action. They do not need your emotional labor. They need to witness the results of your transformation. They do not need you to save them. They need you to show them what is possible when a human being commits 100% to their own elevation. This is the great paradox of power. You help the most people by focusing ruthlessly on yourself. You inspire more change by changing your own reality than you ever will by talking about theirs. You create massive impact by building your empire so high that it can no longer be ignored. Machiavelli wrote that the best fortress a prince can have is to not be hated by his people, But he also knew that you cannot secure genuine respect while you are weak, scattered, and desperate for validation. Strength attracts, weakness repels, purpose attracts, aimlessness repels, discipline attracts, chaos repels. So here is your new operating system, the filter through which every decision must pass. Does this action build my empire, or does it distract from it? Does this conversation make me more formidable, or does it drain my vitality? Does this use of my time serve my ascent, or does it keep me grounded at the same level as the masses? If it does not build, if it does not strengthen, if it does not elevate, the answer is a cold and final no. Not maybe later. Not when things calm down. Never. Your empire demands your total attention. It demands your complete devotion. It demands an unwavering commitment that borders on the fanatical. Only when your kingdom is secure, only when you are truly strong, truly disciplined, and truly unshakable, will you have something real to offer the world. But that offer will come from a position of overflow, not depletion. It will come from a place of power, not a place of desperation. Build the wall, crown yourself, and let the world watch the construction. There is a version of you that must be executed today, the people pleaser. This is the part of you that bends, that accommodates, that adjusts and compromises its own integrity just to keep the people around you comfortable. That version of you is not kind. It is weak, and weakness is a terminal illness in the pursuit of power. Niccolò Machiavelli observed with cold precision that those who attempt to please everyone end up pleasing no one. Worse than that, they lose the very shape of their soul in the process. They become a hollow reflection of everyone's expectations and a recipient of no one's respect. You have been conditioned to believe that being liked is the ultimate achievement of a social animal. You were told that if people approve of you, it means you are doing something right. That is the great lie they sold you to keep you manageable, and you bought it at a premium price. Here is the truth that will burn through your delusions. The people who demand the most from you usually respect you the least. Read that again, and let it sit in your gut. The friend who only reaches out when they need a favor. The family member who attacks every boundary you set. The romantic interest who keeps you as a backup option while they explore the world. They do not respect you. They use you, and they will continue to use you as long as you provide the service of being a nice guy. Dark psychology reveals that human beings will exploit any weakness they detect, not necessarily because they are evil, but because it is efficient. You created this parasitic dynamic by being too available, too agreeable, and too afraid to cause a moment of social friction. You have trained the world to see you as a resource, not as a sovereign human being, and now you feel resentment. But that resentment is misplaced. It should be directed inward, at the cowardice that chose their comfort over your own dignity. The Machiavellian mindset demands a total cleansing. You must kill the people-pleaser through deliberate, strategic, and cold action. Start by mastering the word no. Understand that no is a complete sentence. It does not require a footnote, it does not require an apology, and it certainly does not require a detailed justification to someone who is trying to steal your time. Stop being available 24/7. Create distance. Create mystery. Create a psychological scarcity around your presence so that when you do show up, it actually matters. Let people wonder where you are. Let them wonder what you are building in the dark. Cut off access to those who only take and never contribute to your treasury. Do not make a grand announcement. Do not start a fight. Simply withdraw your energy and watch how quickly their friendship vanishes when the service is no longer free. Set boundaries that make people feel uncomfortable. If your boundaries don't bother anyone, then they aren't boundaries. They are mere suggestions. Discomfort is the toll you pay on the road to respect. This will feel wrong at first. Your old conditioning will scream at you. It will try to make you feel guilty, selfish, and cold. That is simply your weakness trying to survive the execution. Do not listen to it. Machiavelli understood that a prince must be willing to act against mercy, faith, and humanity when the survival of his state is at risk. Your state, your kingdom, and your future demand the death of your submissive self. When you kill the people-pleaser, The leeches and the energy vampires will find another host. But the right people, the people of substance, will finally see you. They will respect your boundaries because they have boundaries of their own. They will value your time because you have shown them that it is valuable. You don't need 50 superficial connections. You need 5 solid relationships with people who respect your sovereignty. The accommodator dies so the leader can emerge. The yes man dies so the man of principle can stand firm. This is your rebirth into the world of the formidable. Practice the word. Mean it. Enforce it. Your new life is waiting on the other side of your refusal to be used. Let us discuss the variable that separates the world builders from the world watchers. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is obsession. I am not talking about the scattered, fleeting enthusiasm of the amateur. I am talking about a ruthless, consuming, and all-encompassing obsession with self-mastery. Niccolò Machiavelli studied the men who bent the arc of history to their will, men who forged empires out of dust and blood, and every single one of them shared this specific psychological trait. They were maniacally focused on controlling themselves before they ever attempted to control the world around them. Alexander the Great did not conquer the known world by accident or by being a nice guy who helped everyone with their problems. He conquered himself first, his impulses, his fatigue, and his internal cowardice. Julius Caesar did not become the sun around which Rome revolved by seeking approval. He became Caesar by being obsessively devoted to his own development, his own strategic power, and his own destiny. This is the frequency you are missing. You are currently dabbling in self-improvement while keeping one foot firmly planted in your comfort zone. That is not how transformation works. That is how stagnation is maintained. Dark psychology reveals a critical vulnerability in the human design. The brain is a survival machine, not an excellence machine. It is programmed to seek the path of least resistance, to avoid pain, and to keep you exactly where you are, safe, predictable, and mediocre. Your biological hardware doesn't care about your throne, it only cares about your comfort. Therefore, if you are waiting to feel motivated or inspired, you are playing a losing game. Motivation is a marketing lie sold to the weak to keep them buying products. Obsession is the only engine that actually produces a sovereign. Here is what obsession looks like in the clinical reality of the master. You wake up, and your first thought is the advancement of your position. You go to sleep strategizing your next move in the dark. Every single decision you make throughout the day is filtered through one question: does this make me more powerful or less? Your body becomes a laboratory. You do not exercise. You train your vessel as a weapon of war. You experiment with discipline. You audit nutrition, and you optimize your sleep with the precision of an engineer. Your mind becomes a fortress with a strict immigration policy. You guard what enters it with a lethal level of scrutiny. You are selective about the content you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the thoughts you allow to take root. You read power dynamics in every room. You study history, you study psychology, and you study the mechanics of influence. Your time becomes your most guarded asset. Social media is deleted or strictly controlled. Pointless social obligations are declined without hesitation. Gossip is ignored as the noise of the peasants. This sounds extreme to the average person because it is extreme, and that is exactly why it works. Machiavelli wrote that extraordinary results require extraordinary measures. You cannot achieve what others haven't by doing what others do. While the masses are sedated by Netflix and cheap dopamine, you are mastering negotiation tactics. While they are sleeping in, you are in the gym at 5 a.m., forging a body that reflects your internal resolve. While they are complaining about their circumstances, you are systematically dismantling every obstacle in your path with the cold efficiency of a machine. This is the obsession that changes everything. But understand this: obsession with self-mastery is not about perfection. Perfection is a trap for the insecure. The sovereign seeks formidability. You are not trying to be flawless, you are trying to be so competent and so undeniably powerful that your flaws become irrelevant to the outcome. You are not trying to please the world, you are trying to become so capable that the world has no choice but to respect you. This requires you to embrace discomfort as your natural habitat. Growth lives in the heat of the friction. Power lives in the resistance. Everything you want is on the other side of what is comfortable. So you lean into the pain, you chase the struggle, you make your ability to endure discomfort your ultimate competitive advantage. While other men are seeking the shade, you are mastering the desert. While they are making excuses, you are making progress, day after day, week after week, with no days off for the ego. Machiavelli knew that fortune favors the bold, but only when that boldness is backed by relentless preparation and execution. Your obsession is not a chaotic emotional state. It is a calculated, strategic and intentional way of life. Every rep, every book, every hour of focused work is a brick in the wall of your empire. The version of you that is untouchable only exists if you commit to the obsession right now. Here is a secret that the architecture of modern society is designed to hide from you. Isolation is not a tragedy. It is a strategy. The most formidable figures in human history were not social butterflies flitting from one shallow connection to another. They were men who understood the power of the void. They carved out sacred, untouchable periods of time away from the noise, the demands, and the constant corrosive pull of mediocrity that masquerades as social obligation. Niccolò Machiavelli himself produced his most enduring work, ideas that would manipulate the corridors of power for 500 years, while he was in exile, alone, removed from the courtly politics that had once consumed his attention. In that isolation, he did not find loneliness, he found clarity. He found the space to think without the contamination of the common mind. Right now, you are surrounded. You are surrounded by voices telling you who to be, opinions you never solicited, and energy drains disguised as friendships. You are surrounded by people who desperately need you to stay small so that they do not have to feel the shame of their own stagnation. And you call this your community. It is not a community, it is a cage. Dark psychology teaches us a brutal truth. Humans are extraordinarily susceptible to the frequency of their environment. The law of averages is real. You are the mathematical mean of the 5 people you allow to occupy your closest mental space. If those 5 people are complainers, you will find yourself complaining. If they are mere consumers of entertainment, you will fie. Your ambition being replaced by the search for the next distraction. If they're content with being average, you will eventually defend your own mediocrity as wisdom. This is how the masses keep the outliers trapped, not with iron chains, but with the fear of being alone. But the Machiavellian mind knows that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a state of dependency, isolation is a state of independence. Calculated isolation is the act of strategically removing yourself from environments that dilute your focus. It is not a retreat, it is a positioning for a higher level attack. A lion does not plan his hunt in the middle of a noisy crowd. The predator isolates, he observes, he calculates. And only then does he strike with a precision that the herd cannot comprehend. You must become comfortable disappearing, not forever, but strategically. Disappear from the group chats that produce nothing but noise. Disappear from the social events where nothing of substance is built. Disappear from the one-way relationships that extract your spirit, but never replenish it. When you vanish to work on yourself, the weak people in your life will become uncomfortable. They will accuse you of being distant or cold. They will say you've changed. Let them. Their discomfort is the biological signal that you are growing beyond the limits of their control. Your discipline acts as a mirror that shows them their own lack of focus, and they hate you for it. Machiavelli noted that it is better to be respected in your absence than to be used in your presence. When you master calculated isolation, you reclaim the most valuable real estate on earth, your own mind. The background noise of other people's expectations goes silent. In that silence, you can finally hear the frequency of your own potential. You can finally see the raw, unfiltered and dangerous version of yourself that has been suppressed to keep the status quo comfortable. This is where the real construction happens. In the dark, you train. In the dark, you build systems that will multiply your wealth and your influence. You develop skills that compound in value while everyone else is seeking unearned attention. No one is watching. No one is offering unsolicited advice. It is just you and the work is the only thing that never lies. Calculated isolation also creates mystique. In a world where everyone is oversharing, overposting, and constantly explaining themselves, the man who is absent becomes a mystery, and mystery is the parent of authority. People begin to wonder what you are becoming. They wonder why they no longer have access to you. That wonder is leverage. Machiavelli understood that a prince should never reveal all of his cards. Some growth should be silent until it is undeniable. You are not being antisocial, you are being pro-sovereign. You are not hiding, you are preparing. Because when you emerge from a period of calculated isolation, you will not be the same man who entered it. You will be sharper, stronger, more clinical, and significantly more dangerous. You will be the man who chose himself when the rest of the world was choosing comfort. The mirror will show you a king, not a servant. Build in the shadows, command in the light,